Aye, shepherd's pie. Greetings from the Philippines. Welcome back to the channel for a walk on a talk from a very pleasantly grey day. I think the wet season could be upon us. It's a lot cloudier, a lot greyer than it normally is. But given the heat wave we've had for the last few months, it is very welcome. Long may it continue. I might be a bit premature, might just be a glitch, but traditionally the rainy season does start around June here, so hopefully the rainy days are upon us. Makes a hell of a difference. It's been bloody hot, as I say, the last few weeks, or the last couple of months rather. So I want to have a talk today about something I have been pondering for a while now, more so given the recent influx after the last few months. What is it with Americans and the Philippines? Now, the reason I'm talking about Americans is they are by far the majority in Dumaguete, and I'm wondering why the Philippines is so appealing to our American cousins, because they are coming here in increasing numbers. I know a lot of vloggers want to spread this story that everyone's leaving the Philippines, numbers are down, it's the end of the world, it's a terrible place and we're all leaving en masse. But I did a bit of research into that for a video a while back. It's not actually the case. Numbers were down, but they were down because less Chinese were coming, less South Koreans. The numbers of Americans was on the rise quite significantly, as was Indians. I don't know if the numbers are still the same. That was over a year ago now. If there is an influx of Indians, I have no idea where they're going, because they are not coming to Dumaguete. I've seen very few, I think the number of Indians I've seen in the time I've been here, you could probably count on one hand. So if there is an influx of Indians, they are going to other islands. But there has been an increase in Americans. And I find myself pondering what brings them here. Now, as I say, this is just an observation. I have not got any conclusions. So I'm talking about it. I'd like to know people's views on what it is that attracts Americans here seemingly more than other nationalities, and to here over other places such as Thailand, etc. Because it's very easy to put it down to, I mean, when I first came here, one might assume it's because America has a strong links with the Philippines. You know, used to be a colony for a while. They used to have a lot of bases here, the language, etc. And that will be a factor. But I do think a lot of people overestimate that as being the primary reason. But they certainly come here more than they do in terms of percentage of expats than they do to other countries. I mean, there are very few English people here, or British people really, in Dumaguete. I know a few, but Brits on the whole tend to go to Thailand. A lot more Brits in Thailand than there are in the Philippines. A lot more Brits in Cambodia than there are in the Philippines. I'm led to believe there are a lot more Brits in Vietnam than there are in the Philippines. So something about the Philippines seems to put Brits off. There aren't many of us here. There's quite a few Europeans. There was a surprising number of Scandinavians and Danes, but not as many as you would find in Thailand. I think if you were to add up all the Europeans, including the British, add in the Australians and the Canadians, we might equal the number of Americans that there are here. I think there'd be slightly less. I think even if you were to round us all up together and put us in a group, there'd be more Americans than there are of all the other countries combined. That's just my guess. I haven't looked into it. Hold on a second. Hey, how you doing? Good to see you.
I'm good.
They shouted out back then, hello vlog, I knew they want to be on camera. So that's my consent, I got my consent. Now, because if you take the girlfriend aspect out of it, I understand, I mean, that is the thing. The vast majority of guys that you meet here are here for one reason. They're here because their partner is a Filipino. Makes sense. But most of the British and European guys I've met over here, they seem to have met their Filipino partner before, somewhere else, in the UK or working somewhere or whatever, and they've come here. I don't know that many that have come here single and then met someone. Obviously I fall into that dynamic, but as I say, I'm a bit different in the sense I went to Thailand first. I went to Cambodia. You know, this was my third South Asian country that I thought I'd try a bit of time living in. Wasn't attracted to come here first, quite the opposite. It was well down on my list. I'd heard about, you know, all the typhoons and the hurricanes and the earthquakes and the poverty and things, and it put me off. So I didn't really have any plans to ever come here. But times change, and I'm glad that I did. But one thing I have, I mean, I'm going around in circles here. What I'm getting at is, if you take away the links between the countries, because I do think that is overblown. I mean, Britain, it was a vast empire, we've got a long history. There are a lot of countries which we have had long relationships with. India's one, for example. You don't get a lot of Brits going over to live in India. You know, the vast majority of Brits, you know, who move overseas tend to go to places like Spain. And we don't really have any historical links to the Spanish, quite the opposite. We were fighting them for hundreds of years. Now, I know that's because it's close. I'm just saying that the reality is, you know, just because you have a history with someone doesn't mean that you go there. As I say, there's lots of countries in the past that we have, you know, been friends with, allies or fought or whatever, or got long links with, and Brits tend not to go and live there. I also am well aware that there are a number of American bases here over the years, and I do know a number of Americans who were posted here and decided to come back for that reason. They're married to a Filipino, they had a Filipino girlfriend, or they had such wonderful halcyon days there, they decided to come back and try and relive it. Yeah, I get all that, but based on my limited experience, that is not the majority of people here. Which makes me wonder, as I say, why do so many Americans decide it's the place for them? I was eating before I came out, and I always have chilies. I don't think I've washed my hands enough. I just rubbed my eyes and I put chili in my eyes, so I'm going to be blinded now for the rest of the vlog. Great move that, Simon, well done. I feel like I've been CS gassed, but there you go. Good job I've got sunglasses on. Now it is all wet down here. I was going to go down this bit, but don't think I'm going to bother now. I'm going to double back on myself. So yeah, and the reason I'm thinking about this is because I have noticed that there are more Americans who are coming here, but since I've had the channel, which is over 2 years now, I frequently get asked to meet people. You know, can they meet me for a coffee? Can they meet me for a beer? If they say a beer, yeah, I'll always meet someone for a beer. I'm meeting someone tonight, actually. Coffee, no, I'm not really a coffee guy. Nothing against meeting someone for coffee, but yeah, I just never have. If you offer to take me for a beer or something like that, I'm far more likely to say yes than I am to come for a coffee. But because I'm a night person more than a day person. But yeah, over the period of time, I have met a lot of guys who are over here checking the place out, of different nationalities. I've met a few Australians, I've met a few Brits, I've met some Canadians, I've met mainly Americans. And the thing I found, based on my small anecdotal sample, is the Americans seem to be a lot more enamoured with Dumageddon than the other nationalities seem to be. And these aren't people who've had long-term links with the Philippines. These aren't people who have a Filipino girlfriend or a bride, or been married to a Filipino, or served here during the war. So I know a few during the war, served here in bases when they were in the military. So I know a few people over here like that. I did meet one. Do you know I didn't, because I met him, but then again he'd moved here with his wife. So I've been at pains to say many times in my videos, I don't want to big the Philippines up to be something that I don't think it is. I'm always as honest as I can be. And my first impressions when I came here, let's just say I was not blown away. It was not what I thought it would be. Took me a long time to grow to love the Philippines. Anyone watch the channel know it took me over a year, but I had always said I'd come here for 2 years and give it a go. But I've explained that a million times on the channel. I'm not going to relive that again, but I do have a 2-year rule when I go to a country. And I've said a number of times, I wouldn't invite someone here on a holiday. You know, I haven't had many people visit me from the UK. In fact, I haven't had anyone visit me from the UK. But the ones who have suggested it, I've put them off. I've said, no, don't do that. Don't come all this way. It's difficult to get to. It's going to take you a couple of days to get here. If you really want to see me and you want to, I'll meet you somewhere. I'll meet you in Thailand or whatever. It's a lot easier for you to get to. And it's far more of a holiday destination than this place is. Unless, of course, they were planning on coming here and, you know, to check it out, somewhere to live, then, of course, they should come here. But it doesn't blow you away when you get here. At least it didn't blow me away. It's a long, slow burn. You kind of fall in love with the Philippines over time. Kind of wears you down into loving it. And you won't experience that, or wouldn't have experienced that. If I'd come here for a week or 2 weeks, I'd never come back again. That would have been me done on the Philippines, I tell you. Particularly if I'd come to Dumageddon. And I have found, with the single guys that have come here, that I have met, who are not American, that tends to have been the way they've seen it too. They have not lasted, in the sense, they only came here for a few weeks for a recce. I was hoping to interview him, but he's gone away now. He might be watching. If you are, hello Paul. He's trying out the Philippines. Been here a few months now. He came to Dumageddon for a month. Doesn't think it's for him. He's back off on his travels again. And that has been kind of the impression when I've met people who aren't American. They have been like, you know, yeah, it's all right. I don't know if it's for me. I don't think any of the ones who've come here for a couple of weeks have moved here permanently. But you've got people like Lachlan, the Scottish guy. Interviewed him a couple of times. He is going to come back here at some stage. You just got to get some money together and do a bit more work. But he's planning on coming back here. So there are some people who have fallen in love with it. It did take him a long time to decide that it was for him. But he was the exception. However, the Americans that I've met for a beer, the subscribers who've asked to meet with me, they more or less without exception have been blown away with the place. Loved it. And power to them. But I'm not so sure why. I mean, several. I mean, my next door neighbour Greg, he's living here now. Not saying he was blown away with it, but he came to try it out. Didn't think he'd see him again. He'd move over there. I met a guy called Sean a couple of weeks ago. Again, if you're both watching, hello. You know, he's planning on coming back around Christmas time. Most of the Americans... Hello, hi, how are you? Nice to meet you. Hello.
How are you doing?
I am doing a vlog. Okay. Thank you. I should be friendly. You've got to be careful talking to kids in a country like this. So you're not. Anyway, I'm not going to go. You know what I'm saying. I try to avoid the talking to children. But yeah, they seem to love it. And there are a lot now. I mean, a lot of guys I meet are friends who are single Americans who have come here, guys I know from, you know, socialised with, etc., who have come here single in the last few months because they came here on a holiday and they fell in love with the place, Dumaguete, and they're living here now. So, I mean, it's horses for courses. You know, there's now queer as folk. And when I say that expression, I mean, you know, we're all different. We all see different things. But it blows my mind that they are so blown away with the place. Because you'll sit there and they'll have a smile on their face. No, I like it. I've enjoyed it. I'm loving it. I'm going to move here. I'm hoping to be back in the next couple of months and start looking for a house and all that kind of stuff. And you think, well, that's great. I am very happy for you, you know, and I genuinely am. But I don't know why. I don't know what it is about the Philippines that has, or Dumaguete, that has blown them away so much. And I've lived in America, you know, so, you know, America's a nice place. It's not like, you know, they're coming from some terrible country that, you know, can't wait to get out. I mean, it's just, I'm just surprised because, as I say, I've met a few Australians. I have met guys from other countries who come over here and they really like it and they're coming back. But they have invariably been in a relationship with a Filipina who they are visiting or planning to marry or whatever, and they've come over to see could they live here because they're thinking about living here because it's where their girlfriend's from. You know, so that to me is very different to someone coming here single, not having the, you know, the driving motivation of being with their partner to bring them here. These Americans I've met have just fallen in love with the place. And as I say, maybe they are seeing something that I'm not. I'm not for 1 second criticising anyone here. It just surprises me because I've said from day one, not day one, after I fell in love with Dumaguete, you know, it was it takes a long time, you know, it grows on you. You have to be here, I think, a period of time before you get in, personally me, certainly someone from the UK, before you really get with the flow and you really get the feel of the place and you start to see its qualities. I've lost track of the number of vloggers who've come here. Travel vloggers I used to watch from Europe and England and things like that, you know, are travelling around Southeast Asia. They come to the Philippines, they come to Dumaguete particularly, and they're like, do not like this place. I'm getting out of it, you know, won't be coming back there. Didn't like it at all. I don't think I've ever seen a travel vlogger come here and say, wow, this is a fantastic place, I want to live here. But I have met a lot of Americans. And I'm sure it's not just Dumaguete they fall in love with. I'm sure, you know, that's probably the same for other places, because as I say, the figures are more Americans coming to the Philippines than any other nationality. I just wonder what it is that they see when they get here that makes them fall in love with the place as quickly as a lot of them seem to. And there will be exceptions. I know there'll be exceptions. I know there will be people who take exception to what I'm saying in the comments. I'm digging people out. I'm having a go at Americans. I am not. Nothing could be further from the truth. I'm just intrigued because I've got to the stage now where whenever I meet Americans who's just arrived, as soon as I say, how are you finding the place, I'm amazed when it's not positive, because it always is. But when you talk to people from other countries who just arrived, you know, there's a lot more trepidation when they speak. They're a lot more reserved in their praise. They're kind of like, you know, you can tell they have not been blown away. And as I say, I can relate to that. As I say, I know the country, I know the Philippines and America are very closely linked over the years. Now a lot of Filipinos go there to work. A lot of Americans are Filipino work colleagues, so they might have a feel for the place. I know a lot of people served here, you know, and have come back. I know a lot of, I know that will be a certain percentage of them, why Americans choose to come here. I do think language is a big part of it as well. That's something I've noticed. You know, most of the European people you meet, Canadians, Australians, I know they're not European, I'm not including them in the European group. Language doesn't seem to be as big a driving factor as it appears to be for a lot of the Americans you meet. That seems to be a big thing. They kind of have it in their head that they can't move to Thailand or Vietnam or somewhere because of the language barrier. But, and I can get that, so that may well be why a lot come here and or decide to come here in the first place and decide to stay because they don't have the same language barrier problems as they have had in other countries. But I don't think that counts for all of them for the reasons I've stated. Does seem to be, based on my own very limited observations, a far larger percentage of Americans who have no links to the Philippines at all, other than they've watched a few vlogs and decided to come here. They seem a lot more predisposed to falling in love with the place than a lot of other nationalities seem to be. Yeah, so there you go. That is the video done, really. I would love to know your viewpoints. What is it that is particularly appealing to our American cousins about the Philippines, which isn't necessarily as immediately appealing as it is to some other nationalities? And I know people are going to say straight away it's the Filipinos, the Filipinos, the Filipinos. Yeah, I get that in the sense that Filipinos are a huge driving force for a lot of or Filipinas who come here. But I met a guy recently who'd just been in Vietnam. You know, Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand. People who have been to those countries, who have come here and then suddenly thought, no, this is the place for me. Which I find strange, because it's been the other way around. But the point is, you can meet women in all those countries. You know, the Philippines is not the only country in Southeast Asia where it's a lot easier for a Western guy to meet a woman. I always laugh when people say I only came to the Philippines to meet a woman. I think, well, why would I leave Thailand? You know, just to come looking for a woman. You can get a woman in Thailand. You know, anyway, I said that again and again in previous videos, but I'm going to end it now because I'm getting close to the road and it's very loud. There's a big lorry coming. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you enjoyed the video, smash a like button. If you haven't subscribed, it would be fantastic if you did. But whether you do, whether you don't, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, stay safe and be lucky.